Price of uranium has continued to rise. The spot market pulled back just slightly, but we're going to talk about how uranium is setting up just like the 1970s where it hit an all-time high. I'm going to show you the data and let you decide. The S&P 500 has had its 9th week out of 10 that it is down. So of course, uranium stocks have pulled back after their massive run last week. We're going to talk about the really bullish news in uranium. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button below. And you guys did it. I think that you guys gave enough likes on the last video that the Uranium Documentary 3 is coming. Just as I was saying, uranium actually hit $208 adjusted for inflation in the 1970s. We had stagflation. We've had issues with Russia, the oil crisis as well. We've got 150 Chinese reactors coming, small modular reactors. US government's looking to put, $4.3 billion into the uranium pipeline enrichment and production. So it's very excited about that. But what I want to show you, I made this chart here. I just tweeted this out. So I'm going to show you this chart in detail. But the uranium overall in the world in the 70s did its biggest run if you do a adjustment for inflation. So it hit $208. Now, we are mirroring the 1970s, the early 1970s. And I'm going to show you exactly how on the chart with the numbers and data. So in 73 and 74 is really what we're mirroring right now. This actually does include the S&P dropping 1% for the year down. It's dropped the most in 1974. And if you look on here, we are about 21 and 74 was 52. So if you look even back to the Great Depression, we're not really seeing the same type of drops. I mean, they had 3% days down, 50 of them. So yes, it is blood in the market. It's because we've seen all-time highs and things last year. And, the market's coming back to take back a lot of those gains from a lot of those companies, So I'm gonna go into this. This is very interesting because the numbers are right there. The data's there. So we had the oil crisis in 73, and we actually saw right here, right beforehand, uranium actually hit its low. Okay, so I want to show you this chart. So uranium in January of 1973 hit a historic low at the time. Historic low. Now, in the late 60s, it finally became where private companies could buy uranium. I think it was 67. And the government really wanted to let the private and public industry start to build these reactors. So we had a renaissance in reactors. For 6 years, the uranium price actually went down right as that renaissance started with the nuclear reactors, it going to the public. So this was, the decline happened right when the oil crisis happened. Now, inflation really, the overall thing is inflation happens when there is too much money printed. Okay, it dilutes everything. And the inflation was around 8.7%. Sound familiar? We just hit a 40-year inflation high as well the other day. That's what the market dropped. And what do you know? We went into a recession, and the federal fund rates, they obviously kept having to raise it. And we had a big drop in the S&P 500. And then once they peaked the Fed rates, inflation was already at 12.3%. But looky here, this was 73, 74, 75. Guess what happens? 76. Uranium reaches an all-time high, never this high if you adjust it for inflation. It's $208. And this was during rate hikes. This was during record inflation. This was during a recession. This is when the overall market was dropping very big, okay, during this time. The market sentiment was very low, but money flows into commodities, especially energy commodities. Now, we had such a speculation and, during the last, really 20 years with the market has, had drops and bear markets, but we've always came back and it's went higher. And, we hit 16,000 in the NASDAQ and, now we're dropping and, we've had such a big drop. So we are, I think, in this area where we don't even have historic lows right now. We are actually doing very well in the 50s in the spot market. And I really do think that this is because there is a lot of eyes on energy. Obviously, we've had an oil crisis as well, just like back then. History's really rhyming. So there is so much bullish news and we really got to look to that. And I'm going to really cover this in detail in the documentary. It is just crazy how closely related we are to the 70s. I know that your $200 uranium, it's very probable that that's going to come. We have a lot of bullish news to cover really quickly. So Japan, there's a lot of bullish news with restarts now. We already talked about the Tamari plants not being restarted yet because they need a retaining wall for safety. Hopefully that happens, but they are, all the green checks here is what's restarting or has restarted. Shemaine has restarted, and they restarted this one last year, and I believe this is the one that they're actually restarting starting in August. So that's very, very positive. I like to see that. And, we're probably going to see a lot more restarted. So another bullish news, there's Unit 1 in Korea. They actually connected to the grid, this new nuclear power plant. Very positive. I love that. Love seeing that. Now, another big thing with actually uranium is the U.S. nuclear industry supports now giving up Russian supplied uranium. So the biggest nuclear power plant owner is actually supporting the Russian ban as well. So this is very good to see. The overall market, like we said, there's a lot of negative people out there. The U.S. stocks suffer the worst week since January. Obviously, inflation's running higher. Uranium prices are going to go higher. They need to go higher to spur production, okay? These plants take multiple years to build that the U.S. government's going to want to build, enrichment. So they're really going to need to put money into it. I really think that this is going to happen. It's going to be very positive. Uranium stocks, they had a big week, a big run. They were starting to go mainstream. And then, of course, inflation brought them down. And, we are still seeing the leaders right now. Cameco is only down 21% off its high. It had that 52-week high. And UEC, about 40% still down, 39%. Now, UEC Wainwright do a buy target for around $7.20 is what this was. So this has over, 79+% upside from their eyes. I think it's actually going to be a lot higher. I really do like to see Sprott Physical Uranium Trust too. It's up here at the very, top, meaning it hasn't really dropped as much. That's good, pretty good. Obviously for the industry, they have raised money to buy more uranium. They've been sitting on the sideline, stacking up the $110+ million in cash so they can buy more uranium. And I really think that uranium is going to see $70 plus. If we look back here, you just had a historic low. You're going in the highest inflation at the time. There's an oil crisis. The market drops. And what do you know? Uranium prices go up during this time. There's rate hikes, recession, but uranium, actual tangible commodities that we really do need that are affected by the war, all of these things that the U.S. government knows now that we really do need, they're going to see probably record inflow of funds investing in them. And $200 is probably the low end, especially with inflation. Who knows what inflation can get to? We've printed trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in the last couple years. And this is really going to mean that they're going to have to really raise rates and, really stop printing money if they really do want to stop this crazy inflation, this runaway inflation. And money, I think, is going to come to energy. Oil is probably going to see a lot higher prices. Everything is tied together. We look back. History is a great teacher for what happened. You can learn from the mistakes. Now, I'm heavy cash with uranium. I am in uranium position still. Uranium producers in the US, I really do like them. Now, one thing with looking at the market, when bull markets start to run like this in uranium, they sometimes are very hard to catch because, as you saw last week, UEC went up like 20% in a day. So having all my money on the sideline is not a smart decision, in my opinion, for me. So I do want to establish long-term positions. And, the overall uranium market is going to be one, I think, that is unlike any other in history. I think it's going to see massive run in prices, and the uranium stocks are going to hopefully eventually break free, unyoke from the market. And this is going to be very positive. And it's, if we have all of these big, the biggest stocks in the world go down, yet uranium is literally singled out, the uranium sector, as one of the best, the amount of mainstream coverage that it's going to get is going to make things parabolic.
Players and people that actually play uranium, this has had a lot of what we call tourist investors. But the volatility within that chart, it's a very impressive chart and actually back above that 200-day.
I agree. It had a big day today. I think it was up, 8 or 9%. But you're getting an opportunity off this pullback to get into a space that still makes sense. To me, this is a secular shift. And if you think crude is going higher, which I do, I think Tim does as well, you almost by definition, I think you have to be in these names.
We've seen stocks that should not have traded as high as they did go as high as they have. You know, we're talking about crypto as well. These stocks, these cryptocurrencies, they went to unbelievable numbers. Can this happen to uranium? Yes, it can. You know, just because the uranium price, goes to 100, 150 doesn't mean that stocks can't see ridiculous numbers, especially if they're getting that mainstream coverage and everyone's talking about them. I think it's very possible that that does happen. So I am very excited to continue to cover uranium for you guys. Please hit the like and subscribe button below. It'd be great to see you in the Discord. I like to always discuss and answer people's questions, and it's a lot of fun. I'm going to be making this uranium documentary. So if you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. I want to see all of you guys in the next, year talk about uranium and say, man, I'm glad I got in early, because I really do think right now we are still in the early stages of this uranium bull market. I would have probably said it was a little different, back in, September, but with the war, the overall market finally doing what I thought it would do, it needed to correct and go into a bear market. And these crazy valuations, speculation, all happened because of that inflation, the money printing. And now you're going to start to see money move over to commodities, especially energy. Energy is the biggest real, thing people are always going to be talking about, because we need it. We need it for, obviously, everyone wants to transition to electric vehicles. Everyone wants to, mine crypto out there. It takes a lot of electricity. And we're running out of certain resources in the world, and the carbon goals. All of this all ties together. So if you guys are excited for that Uranium Documentary 3, you are still on the uranium train, hit the like and subscribe button below. And I'm going to continue to make these. And until next time.